Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 3 articles in this episode for you. I guess you could look at this as the health episode for the morning here. All these URLs are in the description of this video for your convenience. And they're all off of natural news. That makes it a little simpler. The first one here is called Reversing Cancer, an Overlooked Solution. Dr. Robert Kleinwax was battling stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and losing badly. After trying a long list of alternative and mainstream therapies without success, Dr. Kleinwax, who described his condition as weeks away from death, reluctantly took action to improve his health because he just thought it was over. But a close family friend proved him wrong. The surprise of a lifetime, astonishingly, his cancer was cured within 7 weeks. The football-sized tumor was gone, and 6 years later, he remains cancer-free to this day. The most overlooked health problem in conventional and integrative medicine. On the next Natural Health 365 Talk Hour, Jonathan Landsman and Dr. Robert Kleinwax, performance coach and motivational speaker, reveal how Dr. Kleinwax survived cancer without resorting to drugs or surgery. Simply put, the poor oral health problems Dr. Kleinwax experienced were literally killing him. But with the right information, you can safely eliminate infections and toxic materials that compromise immune function and put your health at risk. By eliminating oral infections and toxic materials in his mouth, Dr. Kleinwax cured his cancer without chemotherapy, a special diet, or supplemental routine. A pivotal easy for me to say, right? A pivotal step in this process was the safe removal of his mercury-based silver fillings. Mercury is a neurotoxin that releases harmful vapors whenever we eat or drink. This mercury vapor can destroy the protective myelin sheath that covers the nerve damage. That covers the nerves, damage our neurological system, immune function, and reproductive system and cardiovascular pathways of the body. In addition, mercury binds to the minerals like psyllium and sulfur, two of the body's premier natural cancer fighters, as well as binding to the proteins. This affects the immune system's ability to identify cancerous cells and causes it to attack normal healthy cells, setting the stage for autoimmune disorders and, yes, the rapid growth of cancer cells. To be clear, a healthy diet and supplemental routine are essential aspects to living a healthy life, but when dealing with serious health conditions, it's important to rid the body of toxins that threaten life. Poor oral health must be dealt with to improve your chances for successful recovery from cancer. Root canals are the hotbed of infectious debris, it says. Dead teeth result from root canals. Can also cause serious health problems, including raising the risk of cancer. When the pulp is removed from the tooth, there is no longer a blood or oxygen supply, and the tooth becomes a perfect medium for infection. Bacteria can then mutate to an anaerobic form, meaning that they can thrive in the absence of oxygen. The result, an infected tooth that spills toxins relentlessly into the body. Mercury fillings and infected teeth can be removed and replaced, but there are specific procedures that must be carefully followed. For example, the protocol for mercury removal removes the use of eye protection, airway protection, extra suction to draw away vapors and particles, skin protection, plus much more. to protect everyone involved in the extraction process. Then it talks about their natural news health talk hour that they're going to have on Sunday. So if you want to know more about that, you can pull this article up and read about that. The next article that I have for you says contaminated seafood from China is flooding the United States. Are you safe? Do you really know what's going to be on your plate when you purchase seafood? There's a good chance you don't, and maybe you don't want to know. Seafood laced with antibiotics is flooding the marketplace here in the U.S., and if that isn't disturbing enough, most of this seafood is coming from China, where it was most likely raised on pig feces. Upwards of 80% of the seafood in the U.S. is imported, and a good portion of that is of Chinese origin. In 2016, it was estimated nearly 30% of the seafood Americans eat actually comes from China. In 2014, 2.9 billion worth of seafood was imported from the nation, making it the third largest importer to the States. As Bloomberg describes, livestock pens are scattered among the Chinese fisheries. To feed the fish, they simply wash the feces down a pipe that empties out into the pond, and the fish are taken care of. Would you knowingly eat fish that had spent its life in a pond of excrement? Probably not. But this method of recycling has been used in Chinese agriculture for thousands of years. What fattens the pigs also fattens the fish. Beyond the sanitary concerns of such a process, the introduction of antibiotics to animal feed has served to create an even bigger threat to public health. Upwards of 90% of the antibiotics shovel-fed to pigs pass through their digestive systems intact and without degradation. This means that the antibiotics pass through the urine and feces are often still active when they hit the water. And as their waste flows into the ponds for fish food, the little fishes are being exposed to nearly the same amount of antibiotics that are being fed to the livestock. And that's on top of the antibiotics that are purposely put in the water to prevent and treat aquatic diseases. The low standards and lax regulations in China have resulted in seafood riddled with detestable substances and essentially soaked in antibiotics. Isn't that appetizing? In 2016, a study by the FDA found that 25% of the fish and seafood coming from China had traces of chemicals that were forbidden from being used in seafood in the United States, some of which were unapproved drugs and hazardous food additives. Some of the substances found included nitrofurans, a group of antibiotics, green malachite, an antibacterial compound, and genitin violet, and antiseptic dye. All of these substances are prohibited from being used in seafood and are considered to be carcinogenic. A study of Chinese seafood from years 2006 to 2011 also concluded 43% of the samples contaminated multi-drug resistant strains of bacteria. Even wild-caught Chinese fish is often no safer than the factory-farmed varieties. Fortunately, it is entirely possible to protect yourself from toxic seafood. It's essential that you carefully read all product labels to determine the country of origin. Terms like prepared in, packaged in, or imported by should be seen as little red flags, as they often indicate that the fish were raised and processed in two different locations. Because farming of fish is not allowed in the state of Alaska, and because the state charter forbids river pollution, wild Alaskan salmon is one of the best options for seafood, choosing fresh fish over frozen, and smaller fish in general are also good ways to ensure you are not purchasing toxin-laden seafood. And the final article that I have in this episode says, surprise, you never guess what well-known company just decided to dump artificial colorings from its products. If you enjoy coffee and ice cream but loathe artificial colorings, it seems that you may be in for a treat sometime soon. Dunkin' Brands Group, which owns the popular Dunkin' Donuts coffee chain and Baskin-Robbins ice cream chain, has announced that it plans on removing artificial colorants from the majority of its products by 2018. Organic Authority reports that in recent press releases, Dunkin' Brands chairman and CEO Nigel Travis said, this is a significant undertaking on part of our product development team and suppliers. Travis went on to state, however, that we are committed to meet the evolving needs of our customers, including their preference for more nutritional transparency and simpler ingredients, while maintaining the great taste and the fun. Vibrant colors expected from Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin-Robbins products. The research and development teams for Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin-Robbins are currently reworking a host of products to meet this new goal. At Dunkin' Donuts, donut icing, topping, frozen beverages, baked goods, breakfast sandwiches, and coffee flavorings are all being revamped to become free of artificial colorants. And at Baskin-Robbins, the plan is to remove synthetic dyes from ice cream, syrups, sauces, sprinkles, and beverages. However, neither brand will be removing a selection of supplier-branded ingredients that are produced by other companies and used as ingredients in their food, such as toppings or mixed in for ice creams. Baskin-Robbins has also noted it will take them longer to replace the artificial colorants used in the decorative elements of their famed ice cream cakes. A number of fast food and chain restaurants have launched initiatives to improve the quality of their ingredients in the last few years. Subway, Panera, and Taco Bell have all announced their plans to remove artificial colorings from their products, along with other questionable ingredients. In 2015, General Mills announced it would be removing synthetic dyes and artificial flavors from its cereals. That same year, Kraft finally caved and made a similar announcement after refusing to remove artificial colors from its iconic macaroni and cheese products for 2 whole years. What's the fuss about food dyes? Artificial dyes have been controversial for many years. In Europe, many of these dyes were banned in 2008 after a study showed that they could cause behavioral problems in children. The US FDA failed to administer a similar ban, even in the face of massive petition from the Center for Science in the Public Interest, or the CSPI. CSPI also recently authored a report that outlined the adverse effects artificial food dyes can have on children's health, as well as the lack of policies surrounding this issue and more, which you can view in full on their website, and there's a link to that here in the article. The report indicates that 8 separate analyses have demonstrated that removing food dyes from children's diets can help correct behavioral issues. More concerning is the fact that many American children are consuming amounts of these dyes, far higher amounts than what was used in these trials, which could indicate an even bigger problem. According to CSPI, many of these dyes fail to meet the federal safety standard for color additives, which requires convincing evidence that establishes with reasonable certainty that no harm will result from the intended use of color additive. In 2008, the organization petitioned the FDA to ban red 40, yellow 5, and 6 other synthetic colors for this reason. Some food dyes are produced with coal tar or petroleum and are known to be carcinogenic. As Food Matters explains, yellow 6 has been linked to tumors of the kidneys and adrenal glands, while green 3 is linked to bladder cancer, and red 3 causes thyroid tumors in rats. Synthetic dyes are not as safe as they are purported to be, especially not in the amounts they are often consumed. CSPI President Michael F. Jacobson had said that the major food companies should be embarrassed by what they are selling to the American people, especially while they are accommodating the EU and providing them all natural colored or dye versions of the same food. While it is great that consumer demand is finally working and driving these big corporations to find natural alternatives to synthetic compounds and ingredients, it has taken far too long. That's all I have for you in this issue. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up and share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that, and that way you'll stay informed. We'll see you in the next episode.